When you're working on your designs in Adobe Illustrator, or actually any program for that matter, but since we're on Illustrator, that's what we're talking about, it's seeing what you're going to get. There's an old term in the industry, what you see is what you get, which is about as far from the truth as anything could be. We are looking at objects on a monitor. I'm looking at them in my studio as I do this lesson. You're looking at them on your monitor based on your own color setup. So they could look different just from monitor to monitor. But you also have the problem of going from additive RGB, which is what we have, to subtractive paper, CMYK, and trying to make all this work. There's a lot of things that we can do to help out, all kinds of things to help the process, but there are some different ways we can view our artwork, and it's not just about the colors. If you go up to the word View on the pull-down menu and go down, you will see Overprint Preview right there. Now, what is that for? That's a good one to use if you're working with spot colors and a lot of effects, especially things like gradients and that, to see how they're going to look if you're running this off on a 4-color press. So you might want to remember that one. Incidentally, we are in the document called Fishy. It's kind of like my little aquarium. You do have an option here called Outline. Now watch what happens when I change to Outline. You're now looking at the vector nature of the shapes themselves. In many ways, this can tell you the complexity of the objects you're about to print or about to work with. So it gives you an idea of how complex the objects are. Now you can toggle between Preview and Outline by pressing Ctrl-Y if you want to do it that way. That is the shortcuts. Now, we know vectors are nice and crisp and sharp. If we come over here to zoom in on this guy, we'll pick him. I used to have those when I was a kid, and a whole bowl full of angelfish. Looks good. I could blow them up any size I want to. Still looks good. If I go to the word View and go down to Pixel Preview, it doesn't look so good anymore. Now, we're up to 200%. Every time I do that again, it's going to look like it's a Photoshop document that's pixelating. If my goal is to convert these, and you can do this, into raster, I'm looking at what it's going to look like, say, when it goes into a PowerPoint presentation or a website. Now, if I double-click on the zoom tool, that takes us back down to 100%. They should look pretty good there. However, you want to remember, if you want to look at them the way they would look if you rasterize them, then select Pixel Preview. Now there's one other area. Let me move this over way this way. And I'm going to come back up here again, and we're going to go into Proof Setup. Now we're defaulting to working CMYK. So what you're seeing on the screen, as close as we can get, is what you're probably going to get if you send this out to a press. But you also have, like, for example, Internet Standard. Now look closely at the fish when I change. Especially this guy. See how he changed? You're seeing the way it would look on a monitor as opposed to on press. So you do want to remember, a lot of people say, well, it really doesn't look good when I print it. Or when I put it on my website, boy, it really looked different. It's probably because the default here is CMYK. Now you do have some other ones down there for color blindness. You've got one for Legacy Macintosh, typical monitor RGB. When you're working in Adobe Illustrator on objects that have color, it's important to see what the colors are going to look like, and this is one way you can do it. On to the next.